All right, coming up on the show, the guys are in Seattle. Well, a couple of them. On the show, we talk football, Roku, Comcast, and the role of citizen journalism. It sounds like an episode of Chopped on the Food Network. Plus, what's in Greg's cup? A brand new Bandwidth Boys podcast starts right now. Let's go.
Bandwidth Boys podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
Good times never seem so good.
We talk about stuff, tech stuff.
And welcome to another episode of Bandwidth Boys podcast. I am Greg.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Connolly. We are in Seattle.
That never fails to make me laugh, and it's really Matt that is the punchline generally.
It is. Matt and I are in Seattle, so we are on hotel Wi-Fi, so no guarantees on the quality of video that you're going to get out of this podcast, but great content, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm on the Greg Mills home Wi-Fi, so there's never any guarantee there, but it's usually pretty solid. How about we hop right into what's going on, Tech World?
What's going on in tech world?
Amazon isn't giving up on a wide world of sports. They want it, and they
See what I did there?
want it bad. Yeah, I almost couldn't read it. According to Recode, after failing to lock up NFL's Thursday Night Football streaming option, Amazon went out to hire an executive to head up their sports department, James DiLorenzo. He comes to Amazon via Relativity Hollywood.
It's a good thing you read this before the show started.
You just wrote this. A struggling Hollywood studio that has recently emerged from bankruptcy. According to Recode, DiLorenzo used to work for the video department at Sports Illustrated. We know that DiLorenzo doesn't have a blank check from Amazon, but will make a big push for live sports.
Google Maps is making it easier for you to enjoy life. All right, Connolly typed that. But they are trying to make it easier for you to navigate and share. In a recent update to the Google Maps app, they're adding your contacts to your places. Meaning instead of having to go to contacts, find the person, then click navigate, you can do it all inside the app now. You can track people like never before. The new update is also allowing you to batch upload pictures to places. So as you drive or navigate to a place, you'll see your pictures. You look at that location. Okay, well, they're not changing the world, but pretty cool, though. That was Connolly, too.
Roku CEO says no thanks to cable companies opening up their cable boxes. Anthony Wood, CEO and founder of Roku, wrote an op-ed piece last week in the Wall Street Journal denouncing the FCC ruling regarding cable companies opening up their boxes. According to The Verge, Wood cites a few reasons for opposing the ruling. One, he thinks that internet is already spurring innovation in the cable industry. Two, it would cause increased costs for consumers. And three, tech giants would just use this as another way to expand their reach. But what seems to get Wood all riled and fired up against is Google. I was about to say Apple. Freudian slip, sorry. The attempt to pull strings and launch on the back of cable license agreement gets him really upset. Only time will tell, though, where this fiesta goes.
You just went into HD. I did not. Snapchat rules, at least when it comes to video. Last week they released a few numbers. Most impressive was 10 billion. Yep, 10 billion videos shot and sent each day. Not each week, but each day. Compare that to 4 billion a day just a year ago, and that's some growth there. That surpasses Facebook's 8 billion videos a day. Although it doesn't beat Facebook in a daily number of active users, 1 billion, it sure is shaping up to be the biggest social media platform making a run at Facebook. The company says that more than 60% of American smartphone users between the ages of 13 and 34 use the disappearing photo and video sharing app. And among teenagers, the app beats out every other social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And back to the FCC ruling on unbundling cable boxes. Last week, FCC Chair Tom Wheeler praised Comcast for its deal with Roku and Samsung TV. But let's not go too far when we say that. Let's start back in February when the FCC announced plans to mandate cable companies' pay TV services be made available to makers of third-party set-top boxes. Now, fast forward to last week, Comcast announced the Xfinity app would come to Roku streaming devices and Samsung smart TVs later this year. Wheeler and the FCC want to free up consumers from having to lease proprietary cable boxes, saying the services should be allowed on any set-top box. Now, according to the FCC, cable companies yield a lot of their money from leasing those proprietary boxes. In a statement, Wheeler says, "I think that what Comcast just did is proving our point that you can take a third-party device, put set-top box functionality into it, and protect copyright, protect the economic ecosystem, not to have to rebuild the network."
Oh, that's me. And that's a wrap on what's going on, Tech World. $10 billion emojis. That's a lot to send over Snapchat.
I see that we were back to the essay-length news stories for this week.
Okay, just that last one, just the FCC one. I figured it was the most important story back in February. But anyways, do you guys have anything to talk about with the FCC unlocking their box? Because I think it's fascinating, and I, for one, was shocked that the Roku CEO had the stance that he had against that ruling.
Let's round that out just a little bit before we move on. And then, of course, there's no mention of Apple, so I assume that there's just a battle royale going on with Apple like there normally is.
I guess Apple, I don't know. Apple just marches the beat of their own drum. Apple. But essentially, the FCC said that they would mandate cable companies to allow those services that are offered on cable boxes offered on streaming devices. And so that's where the FCC stood with that. And so Roku is saying, whoa, the cable company already has a giant reach by allowing them to be put onto my streaming device and my streaming box. It's allowing them to get a bigger reach and whatnot. But I think in one of the stories that we said, Wood, the CEO of Roku, said, most importantly, he's afraid of Google, who would just jump on the backs of the cable companies and not create their own set-top box and just jump on the licensing agreements of those cable companies. I don't know how that works and whatnot, but that's what he's most afraid about.
Well, it'll only work for a short time because the model of the cable companies is changing somewhat rapidly, one could argue. And so they're not going to be anything to be on the back of in some ways, at least in some future. I know it'll take a while, so it just depends on whether or not you want to make short bucks or long bucks, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a cool move that the FCC is allowing it, because I'm just annoyed with cable companies in general, how they just suck at customer service, suck at service in general, any kind of service. You just add a word in front of service, and they suck at it.
Well, that's because monopolies are that they don't have to worry about service. They already own your ass. So.
Wow, language, Greg. There are people watching us.
This is a family show.
It is?
Yes, as in Conway's family.
You are just joining the Bandwidth Boys podcast. Two of us are in Seattle, and we rented this beautiful hotel room that comes complete with a kitchen behind me. Like literally a whole kitchen. It's got a stove,
Stainless steel
an oven,
appliances.
stainless steel refrigerator,
Granite countertops,
and a dishwasher.
Nice.
Now, I think they make the amenities really nice inside the hotel room so that you don't leave your hotel room and potentially get mugged or shot or something. But
are you having big city fears?
I am. As soon as we got onto 405, my heart started to beat. I'm just saying.
Is that when you
All
made
right.
Matt drive, or did you change, halfway?
We changed at Snoqualmie, right?
Ellensburg.
We changed to Ellensburg.
A safe distance away.
That's what I mean. Once
Yeah.
the big city hits me, it's over.
Yeah.
So our big. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. So our big talk today revolves around citizen journalism. And so yesterday, this is a good time to bring it up. Yesterday in the city of Seattle, there was a little protest happening through the streets of Seattle. Started breaking around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and before you knew it, riot gear was out, pepper spray was out, rocks were being thrown, etc., etc. So today we want to kind of talk about citizen journalism and kind of where it stands and what it means to be a citizen journalism, and is there a place in this world of social media for citizen journalism to be a part of it. So, Matt, why don't you kick us off? The man of few words here.
I had a really good thing to say for this, and now I don't remember it because it's been so long. I have a feeling that we have very different feelings towards citizen journalism.
I do.
I have a feeling that you don't like it.
I'd like to say that what I say here does not represent my employer or the university that I work at. These opinions are my own. Just throwing it out there.
So you don't like it?
Well, I'm just saying. You say your thing, and then I'll go.
I mean, I think that
I'll get on my soapbox and start going after that.
I think it's a fine line between someone just, taking a picture of an event and then contributing it to someone else, and them actually going out to be a journalist. I mean, I have no problem with people taking pictures of events and stuff and sending them out. But my problem is when news agencies don't do journalism,
That's all of them.
They go on Facebook and on Twitter and just take other people's pictures, with their permission, I'm sure. But they don't really put any boots on the ground. They just basically use hearsay from people who are actually there, and I feel like that starts to dilute and belittle what journalism is.
So I think go ahead, Greg, and then I'll get on my soapbox.
Okay. You're looking forward to it. You getting your box all lined up there?
I need a couple boxes to get to Matt and your height, but I'll get there.
He needs a step stool to get on.
Okay, knock it off.
Well, I think a good point was made in a recent television show that we put together, actually, that was done by our outgoing dean, Lawrence Pintack, and that was a conversation in his Murrow interview where they talked about citizen journalism as part of the conversation of the changing face of it. And it had to do with the difference between, a point was made about the difference between actual reporting and just POV pieces, opinion pieces. And nearly all of the citizen journalism, nearly all of it, is really nothing more than opinion pieces, because they're not going about. Journalists who are trained and reporters who are trained are in fact professionals, and they have certain ways that they have to go about things, separation that they have to keep from what it is they're reporting on, keeping emotions out of it, and so many things that fall into the category of being a professional journalist, which you should be paid for with a professional wage. But there are a lot of people who just want to go out and comment on things that are happening, perhaps infuse a lot of their own opinion, perhaps approach it more like they think they're sort of gathering empirical evidence, but to whatever point they're trying to get across. But really, there's a pretty hard difference between somebody who's trained to be a reporter and reporting versus what we're calling information that people are ingesting. And I think that's where a lot of the gray area exists. We have an entire, and I hesitate to point at a generation, so to speak, in air quotes.
A generation.
But I do think that there are a lot of young people who are at risk of not sort of knowing what it's like to have real reporters who give you facts and are dedicated to the craft of journalism and reporting, and they're graying the lines between what somebody's POV is and what reporting is. And I think that's the scary part. But I think if we know the difference, it's pretty easy to pull it apart, and eventually, perhaps, we'll wind up with trained professionals being paid to do what they deserve to be paid to do.
Right. So I just Googled. It's a verb. Googled. Citizen journalism. It's a noun. Person, place, or thing. Just in case you don't know. The collection, dissemination, and analysis of news and information by the general public, especially by means of the internet. I don't know what that means. So that's what the definition of citizen journalism means. But to me, what they're calling citizen journalism is nothing more than crowdsourcing, not surfing, crowdsourcing. Right? To me, the term journalism means research or verification of facts to then be disseminated to the general public. And I think, Greg, you nailed it right on the head when you said this generation, my generation, Matt's generation, people younger than Matt, whatever that generation is. I like to call them the Daniel Tiger's neighborhood generation, but they have an official name. Hasn't witnessed on network TV, on local TV, what true journalism is. Because what people think is journalism is what hashtag Seattle Mayday Riot is. And they think that's journalism. And so I think you nailed it on the head when you said that there are no role models for journalism at whatever level you are. And journalism schools, they're trying to push what good journalism is, but once you get into the industry, it's all about cutting costs and filling the beast of the internet or filling the beast of TV. And I think that's where our problem is. And so, to me, the term citizen journalism sucks and shouldn't be used in general. I think it should be crowd source news or crowdsourced media, whatever you want to call it. But to me, the term journalism means more than taking a picture and saying, "Look at the police who got a rock thrown in his face." Like, that's not journalism to me. That's just capturing an image and then putting it out there. So to me,
and you're right, it's not journalism.
Right, but to be put under the umbrella of citizen journalism makes it journalism.
Perhaps that was just sort of for lack of a better way of describing it, or for wanting to call it something that makes sense to people in some sort of tangible way. They just call it citizen journalism. But you're right, and obviously, I think the facts stand for themselves. That it just flat out journalism and reporting is a profession, not just something that you do if you happen to be in the right place.
A profession that hasn't been, I'll take it, hasn't been relevant in the last 10 years because it's not being done anymore. Because of these big corporations who are coming in, and it's all about the bottom line. It's not about storytelling. It's not about fact-checking. It's not about educating your citizens on what's happening in your area. Right? There's a place for national news, no doubt about it. But there's a huge void in local news because no one is telling the stories of your community anymore. It's all about how little money I can spend to make the most amount of money out of this local news station.
Well, and there are some consultants that should be flat out ashamed of themselves for taking the low road, because what's happened in the local markets, and you hit it square on the head there, that's where the biggest vacation of reporters and journalism has taken place. And it's because they came in and decided and I know we've spoken about this in the past before about how just it grates on both of us. That when they invite you to tell them on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, using it almost as a gadget or a way to get your attention, tell us what you think. Let's go over what you think, citizen journalism, student of journalism. And so we have a newscast, if you want to call it that, full of communication with the audience, which is all hip and cool and everything. But we're not trained journalists and reporters, and so we're missing about half of what we used to get or more, I think, locally.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all on the same page in that it's not what citizen journalism isn't journalism at all. So I think we can all agree there. I also don't think there's a place. How do I say this? There's not a place on a newscast for that kind of information. I think there's a place on a website for it. I think there's a place on retweeting of it and social media. I don't quite think there's a place on it currently, the way the newscasts are, for it. And the reason I say that is because news organizations, local news organizations, aren't verifying the information that they're putting out there.
Right.
So that's why I say it. I think if they actually spent the time to verify the image, to verify the video, to verify the facts before placing it on air as if it were the gospel of God, then there'd be a place for it on newscasts. But currently the way, quote-unquote, citizen journalism is used on air, there shouldn't be a place for that.
So then what separates someone from being a citizen journalist to being a journalist?
There's no such thing as a citizen journalism. There's no such thing as a citizen journalist.
So what makes...
Like Greg said, journalism is a profession that you should be trained on, and you should have an education on, and know the ethics, and know the laws, and know the foundation of this profession. So to me, there's no such thing as citizen journalism. It's a word we came up with, and by we, I mean stupid people.
So you use the word journalist like you would use the word doctor
Correct.
in order to use the title.
It's a profession. A doctor is a profession. Do you disagree?
How about a reporter?
It's the same concept. Just a spin-off of like a doctor, right? You have like pediatrics or you have surgeon. Those are just types of doctors. So a reporter is a type of journalist. An anchor is a type of journalist. But it all falls under the big umbrella of journalist.
But you had said that there is, that there's been a trend where local things in your community just aren't covered, right? Because
That's
it's not
true.
good for the bottom line. So say you have someone in the local community.
We don't.
Well, say you did. They're
We
not
don't.
being paid, but they go to these events and they write stories about them, and it goes out. It goes
Have they
out.
been trained?
It goes out to the community.
Have they gone to college?
So you have to
You
have
have to be trained. You have to know the foundations. You have to know the ethics of the profession, and you have to know the law of the profession.
to do what?
If you have been taught that, then I will be happy to call you a journalist.
But what are you? If you're not a what are you if you don't have a degree in
It's
journalism?
all opinion, like Greg said. It's all opinion. So it's op-eds. You're providing your opinion, or you're providing something that's not news.
So it's impossible to provide facts if you don't have a degree.
no, it's
If you repeat
very
something
easily-
someone else said,
no,
then suddenly it's an opinion.
no. That's fine.
I don't
If
understand.
you are
that-
giving quote word for word or presenting facts, that's fine. I'm not going to call you a journalist for it. You're just providing content for the internet, for social media, but I wouldn't call you a journalist.
Yeah, I think there's a place for people who have taken the time to learn the craft and learn the laws and learn the ethics of this particular profession to become a professional. But you would have to then you'd have to be eligible to be hired by a news organization who said, we believe that you understand all of this stuff. I mean, that might be sort of splitting hairs if you feel like you have to have attended a certain school or achieved a certain degree, although that is the history of the way that journalists are hired, because it weeds it out. They know that you have a certain education, but there are certainly ways to achieve that information outside of it, and we might start to see that a little bit more. I think that one of the biggest problems you have with local news is on-scene stuff. The thing that attracts people's attention is when you're first on it, if something's going on, especially if there's something of a sort of heinous nature like a shooting or a robbery or a fire or something big that's going on in your community, and to be able to tap into somebody who, as Matt has sort of alluded to, that you may trust to be able to be there and be factual and be relied upon, not to be taking too much of a point of view, then these interesting ways that we have of sharing video and pictures and information that are so fast and so and so fluid are the things that have made local news feel like a very stagnant sort of beast, because you've got to wait until somebody gets in the fancy car with the satellite dish on top of it, and by the time you get there, everybody's shared it 47,000 times on Twitter, and everybody already knows about it. So what do there's got to be some way to kind of fuse those things without it being a gadgetry thing where they just sort of flaunt it on the newscast and put up their fabulous graphic that says we're hip and we're now and we're tweeting.
Are they really fabulous graphics though? Let's be honest.
Well, okay, all right. I mean,
any last words on citizen journalism, Matt?
No, let's move on to my segment.
All right.
What's on Matt's mind?
You can go anytime. Do we need to introduce you? We need to roll the red carpet
yes,
out again?
okay.
What's the deal?
So as it was
So,
said before,
what is on Matt's mind? There, how's that?
Thanks, Greg.
we are in Seattle. We got here in a rental car.
Okay.
The rental car has a I'd say like a touchscreen radio system with some advanced features.
Some
One of them being Bluetooth.
Bluetooth,
Now,
which was the first time I used ever for this function.
Now, I understand the logic behind it. Something we ran into was Connolly was driving. I had paired my phone to the car, but we wanted to use Connolly's phone mostly because I had no service and he somehow had 4G, although he didn't really because as soon as we got it paired, it went away.
They went away.
But we needed to pair his phone. But we couldn't because
Couldn't do it.
since the car was in motion,
In motion.
the ability to pair a phone to the car is disabled.
Head out on the highway.
And in order to allow us to sync his phone to the car, we had to get off of the highway. We had to bring the car to a complete stop
Complete stop.
and put the car in park.
In park.
And then we could sync the phone up
And then immediately we lost data.
immediately. Now, I understand the
And
logic.
this was all just to listen to Girl Talk on KUGR.
Yeah, and
We
listened.
literally wanted to listen to Girl Talk, but we had no data.
And I'm aware that if they put a button on the bottom that says, you know, like, I'm a passenger, unlock this, or whatever, that drivers would just abuse it. But there has to be a way.
That you don't have to stop.
Because if we were on a little highway, which, you know, is no big deal to take the next one and then pull over. But if you're on a big freeway and you have to take an exit and you have to get off it and then you have to park somewhere, it's a headache. So they need to figure something out. And I don't know what that is because I'm sure whatever it is,
There's someone smarter out there than Matt that can figure it out.
yeah, there has to be something because that was ridiculous.
That's not necessarily indicative of all systems, is it? I'm pretty positive that in some rental or whatever that I've been in, I've been able to pair a phone while the car was going.
It might be a Toyota thing because I've been in 2 Toyotas and they've both done that.
Huh.
And I'm also,
They screwed up the brakes, but they got the Bluetooth to work.
and I also was just told that BMWs also do that. They also lock you out if the car's in motion. So I get the whole safety
It's a good
angle.
thing I'm not rich enough to own a BMW to know that, but rock on.
But I mean, I feel like the 2 warning messages when you turn the car on, you know, hey, don't use this system
Hey,
when you're driving.
dumbass.
I feel like that's enough. Maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe people are stupid and they'll try and pair their phone while they're driving.
But I mean, what's just, you know, how about, hey Siri, pair my phone? You know, I mean, that should work, right?
Hey, Google. Hey, don't forget Google, okay? Hey,
No.
Google.
Google will never make it into a car.
Okay, it's okay, Google.
You made me talk about Google through the whole news segment. I've got to purge myself of it.
Yeah. It doesn't annoy me as much as it annoys Matt. I'm just saying. It
You didn't think it was ridiculous, so we had to pull off the highway, come to a complete stop, put the car in park before the passenger
I know.
of the
Well,
car could sync the phone.
That part didn't annoy me so much. It was the concept that I had to pull over when I already passed a car a mile away because it was going like 50 miles an hour.
Oh,
It passes me. I get back on the freeway. I'm stuck behind that same car.
you had to do a
That
repass, huh?
I had to do a repass. It was like I was a not so cool guy, but I don't know.
On Matt's Mind.
Good Matt's mind, man.
That was
That
a
was
solid
impressive.
segment.
That was that was interesting. That's a real fly in the ointment. We've got to get that figured out. You're exactly right. That's troubling. That's not going to sell a lot of in-dash, touchscreen systems if we can't manage to
Which
get.
was on Connolly's
phone paired.
list of, which was on my list of birthday month gifts. Just saying. Let's get our act together.
So fellas, baby got back.
Crowdfunding time. What are we
All right.
funding?
Since we are in a hotel Wi-Fi, I am not going to run the video
That's a good idea.
in let's say, because I don't want to crash our computers. But I
No.
will share my screen so everyone can see what I'm looking at. This week we go to the world of Kickstarter, and
We just see Greg's
we should not
face
see
twice.
Greg. There
That's
we go.
not. I'm not. No, that's not it. There
And
we
so-
go.
This product is called the Pictar.
Oh,
And when what are you saying all to? I haven't even started.
no.
When I first found this a week and a half ago, when scheduling and all ruined the show, it was probably $20,000 into its goal. So I checked it today, and it surpassed its goal of $100,000. It now sits at $188,000. $1,000. So let's explain what this is, and then we'll talk about it. And I have an immediate answer, but that's just me. So the Pictar, probably the best iPhone camera grip ever built.
Probably.
Probably because it's the only one. But
Right.
so essentially, it allows you to take your iPhone, which I think is an iPhone 6, but I don't know.
Looks like it.
And slip it into what looks like the handle of a DSLR.
I wouldn't. Yeah, or like a old camera.
Yeah. And so this allows you to have physical buttons to control your camera. So it's got the shutter release. It's got 3 wheels you can turn. One wheel is to change your zoom ring, which isn't really a ring, but we'll just ignore that part. And also used for a selfie button. Another exposure compensation wheel, and another one smart wheel that you can change to whatever setting you want. By default, it allows you to go in and out of different actions. So sport mode, panoramic mode, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially, it's giving you a grip and a cool little strap. So it allows you to control your shots better. So what are your thoughts? You guys have iPhones. Would you get this?
No.
Okay. Greg?
How come?
My phone is never not in a case, and I use an OtterBox, and I can see myself taking about 5 minutes to get my phone out and 5 minutes to get it back in every time.
Hmm.
And I'm not about that.
So you don't think this would make it easier from holding your phone the correct way to take a picture and to be a little steadier with those types of pictures?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
All right. Greg?
I do have to agree with Matt that the likelihood of getting it in and out of the case makes it annoying, and it's sort of not addressed. I mean, why would they? You know, I mean, but I also will say that like if you want to just essentially use your iPhone and know you're going to use it to take pictures, you're on vacation or you are in fact somebody who wants to take artistic pictures and get out in the field or whatever, boy, it really would make it solid.
Here's my thing. If you're all about taking videos or cool pictures, you're not going to do it on the iPhone. I mean, if you're serious about taking pictures, right, you're going to buy yourself a DSLR and you're going to shoot pictures with DSLR.
You're right.
These 4 buttons itself isn't going to make taking a picture on a smartphone any easier. You still have to touch the screen to figure out where you want to focus on. You still have to touch the screen if you want to change it to pure pro mode, which means you change the shutter, you change the aperture, you change the ISO, right? You still have to touch the screen. These buttons just allow you to pop up the menu quicker, right?
Yeah.
And it just, like, who's going to walk around with something that looks like that? I wouldn't. But again, I'm an Android guy, so they haven't made it for us.
It just
So
seems,
it's for you.
Well, one could project the idea onto an Android phone. It's not like they're that different.
Yeah, but I think this is for the crowd of Apple people. Very, what are you, hipster type.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
I
it is,
agree.
hipster.
Greg's a hipster.
It just seems like a very unnecessary accessory.
I think this will be the quickest Baby Got Back segment we've ever done, but let's just do pricing, just if it'll change your mind, okay?
Okay.
$1 or more, we'll give you a, hey, thanks for helping us. $70, which is all gone, so we can't price there. $75, which is also gone. So $90 will get you a Pictar Classic Kit. So it comes with a unit, which you can slip your iPhone into, a wrist strap, a padded pouch, and then the Pictar app, whatever that does. So $90 gets you into the game of a Pictar with your iPhone. Matt?
Can you guess what I'm going to say is the worst part of that thing, the package?
The padded pouch? The app?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
what if that app doesn't work one day?
what if the app stops being supported?
Yeah.
The thing is useless, right? Because none of it is a physical button on the phone. It's all, I assume, Bluetooth?
I would assume so.
Yeah, so if the app stops being supported, again, it's useless.
I'm
So
fairly sure it only fits
Wait
one
for the
phone.
question, all right, man?
What was that, Greg?
I said I'm fairly sure it only fits one phone.
The 6.
I think it scales for the 6 or 6
Oh,
Plus.
there you go. 6 Plus.
It looks like the
Great.
bottom.
So they both become irrelevant at the same time, so that's nice.
That is true.
True.
Yeah, what happens when you get to 7?
Well, that's right. We don't know, do we? Well, we know what happens to Pictar.
They go to a Pictar too.
You get what you get to rebuy for $90, right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
that's a Kickstarter price.
Yeah, I wonder what the actual retail price is. Anyways, all right. So I think I know everyone's answer, but we'll ask anyways. Matt, you first. Are you going to back it or not?
No.
All right. Greg, you're up.
Nope.
Also, looking at that, if you have a 6 or 6 plus, it's $10 more. The $90 is only for the 6.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Yeah, is only for the 5 or 6
5,
and
6.
6S. The 6 and 6S plus is $100.
What is the 90 for?
The 6 or 6S. The
Oh,
non
one or the other. Oh, but not the plus. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, right across the board. So I think that was
Back to
probably
me.
the easiest one. Back to you.
Yeah, there we go.
So
I
what's
just
the,
saw myself on the screen. You just, that's all. You rarely go to me visually, so it's always shocking, when I see myself there.
So what's the vote, Greg?
With a vote of 3-0, we do not back it.
That's a pretty bad product, though.
I wonder.
It's very neat. Well, apparently
'Cause
there
it's
was
a
enough
gimmick?
to get $88,000.
But
They don't listen to our show, obviously.
I mean, is this something people will keep in their pocket with them? And
I don't know. I don't know. So I understand it's May 2nd. It's past my birthday month, but since we didn't have a show last week, I have to wrap it all up in a nice little bow and give it to you, Matt. So I'm going to skip this week about what I have that everyone should buy. I don't think you're gonna guess what I'm gonna say for my must-have number one gift of April.
an iPhone.
Okay, that's Greg. How about you take a guess?
Huh.
I can tell you it's not an Apple product.
A car audio upgrade.
All right, that's a good guess. My number one gift for April.
Oh, that's really long.
That was epic.
Yeah.
That was that.
The timpani roll is a winner.
A brand new,
MacBook.
medium-sized Traeger smoker
Oh.
with an electronic thermometer and an electronic wood pellet feeder.
Hmm.
That, my friends, is the number one April gift. You didn't guess that.
Why medium?
Well, because the large one is like $2,000.
That is
small one-
big.
It's a big hunker, and the small one you could probably put like a Costco-sized pork butt in there.
Oh.
So you need something bigger. So the
So
medium.
am I
size.
understanding correctly that this is something that you now have in your possession?
No, I don't. I wish I did.
You would
Oh.
be
My
incorrect
wife's,
with that
my wife's
assumption.
watching now, so if you want to surprise me by the time I get home, there you go. The number one gift of April.
Are they still at Costco?
I think so. Only the small one though. But it's at Ace Hardware in Pullman.
Ace Hardware in Pullman has them.
Not saying that I've been looking at it, but it's what I'm saying.
Red Solo Cup, I fill you up. Let's have a party. Let's have a party. I love you, Red Solo Cup.
All right, probably the most popular segment of all time,
At least for us.
at least for us. This segment here, that we hand the keys of the show, or the key fob. No keyless. Keyless, what do they call it? Anyways, we hand the vehicle to Greg
Right.
over and tells us what's in his cup.
Right. We have a bit of a duality tonight
All right.
because
You can define the word duality, so I don't have to Google it.
No. It's just like it sounds. It just means two of something.
Two of something. Okay, got it.
It's that simple.
Okay.
Because I finished it, but I was drinking a Pacifico Claro, which I think is a fine warm weather beer. We had some nice warm weather in the Pacific Northwest today, so I was enjoying that. However, that is not the featured beverage tonight.
Shut up, Connolly.
What type of beer? Oh, what type of beer is the Pacifico?
That's it's La Cerveza de Pacifico, so that would make it a Mexican beer.
My headphones died. What?
Mexican beer.
It doesn't have a...
Describe it.
It's a light lager.
Light lager. Okay, great.
Crisp, easy drinking.
I think like a Heineken.
Like water. Heineken's got more flavor to it in a different way. So
a lighter Heineken. Heineken Light.
Okay.
Anyways,
Never purchased any, so I don't know.
Moving on to the main.
But in celebration of the warm weather that has been sort of gracing us a few days this last month, your birthday month.
My birthday month. Don't forget.
And now into May with some beautiful weather in and around the 80 or 80 plus mark, depending on where you are in the state of Washington today. I'm going with one of my favorite warm weather drinks, the Italian Sidecar. Has anybody enjoyed one of those?
No clue what that is, Craig.
All right. There are several different ways to make it, and I've picked up, and I know it sounds sort of interestingly odd when I'll tell you what the ingredients of the Italian Sidecar are. At least
here I'm walking out.
What? All right. It starts with a brandy or cognac, which is not a general beginner, but it does live in that whole Scotch, sort of world, sort of.
I wonder if they sell that at 7-Eleven.
Brandy or cognac? You might have to take one step forward before you're going to find, and out of the Tasty Mart there, but you're not going to find it there. But then Cointreau triple sec is going to work in that. There are a couple of different things you can use. Limoncello or limoncello. I don't exactly know how to say that one. Lemon juice is part of it as well, and then an orange wedge or maraschino cherry for the garnish. But it is a super great warm drink, and you put ice just all the way up to the top of it, and it's fabulous.
Oh, so the ice is in the drink. It's not like shaken and then.
No. I mean, you can make it martinis. I know there's another version of it that has it's an after dinner drink with a digestant in it. That's one of the original recipes, the Italian recipes for that. All I'll say is I know, and I can tell by the looks on your faces, sounds weird, but worth a try. It's drink in my cup. So the Italian Sidecar.
All right, the Italian Sidecar.
And here comes that hotel internet throttling.
Red Solo Cup, I fill you up. Let's have a party. Let's have a party. I love you, Red Solo Cup.
Italian Sidecar. I can get behind that. I can do that. Like drinking.
Oh, I think you could.
All right.
I think it's more right up your alley than you might even think.
That's true. All right, let's jump into the final segment of the evening before the internet at the hotel dies out. Our rants and raves.
Rants and raves.
Who wants to tackle their rant or rave first?
Well, I see you've got one right up there at the top on our handy-dandy script here.
I got a couple. Two.
Okay.
I got two.
Go. Hit it.
Both are rants. So I apologize for bringing down the house. Rant number one. Seattle traffic. That's all I got to say. It's terrible. I don't know how anyone in their right mind would sit in that I mean, I know how because that's where their job is. I get it. But I couldn't do it. I told Matt that my quality of life in Pullman is just fantastic. And he said, "You're just a hillbilly." Yeah, that's not cool. But literally, it took us 5 minutes to go half a mile.
That's pretty fast.
Okay. It took 10 minutes to go half a mile. I couldn't do it. So that's my number one rant. But the more important one is about Apple TV. Last week.
Oh boy.
What?
No, I know where this is going.
Last
And it's
week.
not their fault.
No, it's their fault. My lovely children, especially my third one, who is very adventurous, who likes to take things and hide it. He's just a special little kid. Well, last week, he decided, hey, here's a shiny little black and silver thingamabobber. I'd love to take it and place it somewhere. What was that little shiny black and silver thingamabobber? Yep, it was my Apple TV remote. So for a week and a half, I had no Apple TV remote. And there's no way to find it. There's no like beeper like you can put on your iPhone or your iPad. There's no location help finder. Although my wife pointed out that all I would tell you is that I was in the house. So that wouldn't help.
Right.
But essentially, this little piece of wonderfulness is really easy to lose because it slips in the tiniest cracks of your couch and your recliner because it's smooth and it just goes bloop, gone. Kabloop, kabloop, gone. And so I don't know what can be done by Apple, but you got to figure it out because without it, it's kind of hard to control your Apple TV. Just saying.
You just use the app on. Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
You have an Android.
I have an Android. I have an iPad, and my wife was able to find one, but it wasn't very responsive, and it took a long time for the Apple TV to catch up.
Oh, that's.
Huh.
So I'm just saying, put a beeper on it.
You should get a Harmony.
That when you go, hey Siri, find my damn remote, it goes, I'm right here, Cano, and then it finds it.
Yeah.
That's my rant.
Huh, I don't have that.
I think that's a fair rant. They are going to have to come up with some. It seems like with Bluetooth you could nail it down to like basically a game of hot and cold,
Hot and cold.
Marco Polo sort of thing with it.
Right. Hot, 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 cold, cold, freezing
Yeah.
cold.
I'm sure you'd have to.
It'll show you on the app that you're getting warmer when you get closer to it, and the little sleeve in the couch that it fell into, or the dog bowl, or wherever it winds up.
And then you got to figure out how to cut into your couch because you're like, my hand's not going to fit in that part of the couch. Just saying.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I think you're right. I think they're going to have to work that out. Matt, what are you doing? What do you have today? Anything?
My rant is also.
It's about his passenger in the in the rent-a-car.
My rant is about Apple.
Oh yeah.
I need a new laptop. Badly. And I understand why they don't announce new products before they announce the new products. I get it. But I would really like
Well, it's
to.
good that you understand that.
Right.
I'd really like to know if I'm waiting for nothing. Because now I have to wait until WWDC in June
Right.
just to find out if there even is a new MacBook, just to find out when that MacBook will even be available for sale. And I need to know if I'm waiting for nothing.
Because with Apple, you can't trust the rumors. At least
No.
with Google or with any other tech company, you can kind of trust the rumors, right? There's
Yeah.
always a general trend that you see the new devices and new products coming out with.
Yeah.
But with Apple, they do a very good job keeping their lips tight.
And with a lot of other companies, it's kind of, you can somewhat tell when they're going to do a new one because stocks will fall, or the stock of products will fall, availability will fall. But Apple really doesn't do that. Apple keeps things fully stocked right until the day they stop selling it, and you really have no clue. So I'm waiting, hopefully, not for a long time. I'm sure WWDC is going to come, and then they're going to say, well, in about 6 months, we're going to release a new one.
And then you got to make the choice.
Yeah.
Do you wait the 6 months because you've already waited these 5 years to upgrade, or do you just say, screw it, the laptop upgrade is not worth it, I'm going to go buy the old one?
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know what I want them to do about
The
this.
conundrums of Apple.
I'm sure they can't change this, but it'd be nice if they did.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Greg, you want to round it home with your rant rave?
I'm raving today, and it's. I know it's a bit off topic. Well, it's no more off topic than Seattle traffic. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
I'm raving about the first cruise ship to land to a joyous applause and welcome in Cuba.
Cuba.
I think that is a gigantic feather in the cap of our current president, Barack Obama, and something that he worked really hard to do, and it's an amazing change that we've seen that's been a long time coming, and it was something that was important to him, and I think I agree completely that it's a major feather in the cap of the United States of America to start having much better relationships and relations with Cuba, and that's just a huge deal.
Hey, that was a good line. See? Huh? I didn't know what the song was, but I figured Baywatch Beaches, it all works. I want to be. I'm not rich enough to be a cruise person.
Greg, have you ever been on a cruise?
No, I haven't.
Oh. Should take a Bandwidth Boys cruise.
Yeah, we'll stream live.
I know that. I have several. My brother-in-law loves to go on them. Just they do it quite, somewhat regularly, and they dig it.
If any cruise wants to sponsor the Bandwidth Boys podcast, we'll be happy to stream live from your ship.
But you got to give us free internet, because.
Well, that's true. Free internet and free rum will be there. We'll pay for the drinks and the food.
Yeah.
I think let's have them do the drinks and the food, and we'll pay for the internet.
Well,
why don't you just pay for everything? Full sponsorship.
All right.
There you go.
But there you go. The way to bring up the show with Matt and myself being downers today. Thank you, Greg, for being the happy soul that you are.
My pleasure.
Let's put a bow on the show, Greg.
All right. With that, we're closing the book on another episode of the Bandwidth Boys podcast. Thanks for joining us. If you missed us live, don't worry. You can download and listen to our podcast by using iTunes, Stitcher, whatever your favorite podcast app is.
Bandwidth Boys Podcast. Facebook, Bandwidth Boys Podcast. Twitter, @GMK Podcast. Web, bandwidthboys.com. Bandwidth Boys Podcast.
And with that, I'm Greg.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Connolly.
We'll talk to you next time. Same place, same time, same old shenanigans. That's right here, the Bandwidth Boys podcast. Keep on teching on.